Ambassador to the UK, Dr. Hussam Zomlot, on Christmas Day. We're very lucky to have you, Ambassador, in the studio. Shukran jazilan for coming in. What is the situation currently on the ground in Gaza?
Carnage, horror, unprecedented in human history. The mass murder of children, the mass destruction of homes, churches, mosques, schools, every way of life, every mean of life is destroyed. Israel, over the last few months, have turned Gaza simply lifeless and unlivable, and that is the plan. It is rather heartbreaking to yet again witness these moments that we have seen, passage of such moments in the dark ages, of normalizing such mass murder of children. 9,000. 20,000 people, mostly civilians. 70% of them are women and children. This is truly, truly unprecedented and leaves a serious scar in our humanity. So things are rather difficult. The Palestinian people are traumatized, tormented, yet still hopeful and still clenching to their roots and the key identity that is we, and the key message that we would like to convey to the world. But it is a difficult moment.
No, indeed, it is a difficult moment, and it is also a difficult moment. I'm sure that the Israelis would also argue that it was a very difficult moment for them on October the 7th, with 1,200 of their own civilians brutally killed. There may have been military personnel as well, but clearly they would regard that. Would you also understand their perspective?
Nothing would justify the mass murder of children. Nothing justifies the mass destruction of people's homes.
But
nothing justifies any of this.
Of course, but Ambassador, do you understand that the Israelis and the Israeli government would obviously need to be seen to be responding if they have had an attack on their soil where 1,200 of their own citizens have been killed?
Israel has no right to respond in a way that is genocidal. They have made their intention clear from day one. This is an annihilation of an entire nation, designed, executed on camera. This is being transmitted to your own TV sets. So let's not get there. What Israel is doing has got nothing to do with the 7th of October. This is an old plan. We have been there. We've seen that movie before. 75 years they have done the same, forcing 2/3 of the nation out of their homes. 1948, and this whole ethnic cleansing, mass murder has been happening for 75 years. Nothing new, Ali. So let's not let's not try to justify this murderous, outrageous, genocidal aggression by anything else.
Do you think it is ethnic? You're using the word ethnic cleansing, which is very powerful language to use. On what basis are you making that claim?
How do you explain when Israel weaponizes food and water? How do you explain how do you justify or begin to explain the starvation of 2.3 million people, mostly children, by the way? The majority of Gaza population are children. How do you begin to explain the displacement of 2 million, almost, or begin to explain the starvation of 2 million? How do you explain that all of them are now concentrated in one area, the very south of Gaza, Rafah, most of the population of Gaza, while making their original places unlivable, completely unlivable, and not only unlivable for some weeks or months, for a long time, because if you don't have schools to send your children, if you don't have hospitals to heal you're sick, so you have no life. Well, how do you explain that, Ali? It is a clear-cut, classic design of genocide, and of ethnic cleansing.
But would Hamas not have known that when they attacked on October the 7th? Would they have not contemplated that Israel would respond and would have to be seen to respond? And they are dealing with the most right-wing government in decades in Israel.
Well, we need to focus on the actions of a state that has a seat in the United Nations, that should be held to certain standards, and we should also be focused on the disgraceful silence of the world, the complicity and the complacency, not only giving Israel the political, legal and material support for its genocide, but in fact, absolutely enabling it in
but
every
I'm
way.
back-
So please, Ali, Hamas is a militant group. And history did not start on the 7th of October. History was there on the 6th, on the 5th, and the 4th, and since 1948. So to have a snapshot and to think Israel has just started doing what it did only because of that is a misrepresentation of reality here. So let's put things into perspective. And what is happening goes beyond Palestine, because what is happening has destroyed international order completely, has destroyed our own human values, in my opinion, and is destroying Western democracies, by the way, because people's rights, like the right to protest, the right to assemble, the right to express yourself, is being taken away, all for the shielding and protection of Israel by the West.
You say this now. There's been another attack on a 70 people killed in the Al Maghazi refugee camp in the center of the Gaza Strip. Very tragic loss of life yet again. People are being moved to hospital. Ambassador, how do we actually move forward? I mean, the Pope is saying that Jesus' message of peace is being drowned out by the futile logic of war. It is a futile logic, isn't it? Because how do we actually move to a position here? You've got the first time in decades that Christmas is cancelled in Bethlehem.
Yes.
How do we, what hope do we have? How do we move forward?
Now, let's remind the world that those people you talked about being killed were 106 in El Maghazi and in Nusayrat, the middle of Gaza, and they were killed in Christmas Eve. Jesus was born in Palestine, in Bethlehem, 2,000 years ago. And Jesus was born in a similar context. He was the son of a refugee born in a manger.
Very true.
And he is seen and celebrated worldwide.
Yeah.
And remember that light came from Bethlehem, from the womb of the Palestinian people. And he represented and still represents Jesus Christ, hope against despair, justice against oppression, peace against war. And he, and it represented really the true human value of love up against bigotry and hatred. And look what they're doing again to the people of the same land. And therefore, this is a moment when Palestinians have to cancel the celebration of Christmas in Christmas land, in the birthplace of Jesus, to send a very strong message that we, the Palestinian people, are tormented, are traumatized, are fearful. But we will survive this, as we have done all along. We are a very special nation. We are very well rooted. Remember, Jesus is one of us. And therefore, we will survive this as we survived many. But the Palestinian people wanted to send a message to the world. And this is the message. Will you survive this? Will the world survive this? Will you survive your complicity to stop the murder of children?
You say the world is complicit, but there was a UN resolution, there was a UN General Assembly resolution.
Yeah, that the US vetoed it, so that's why it's unbinding, and it went.
The US abstained in the last one.
The UK government abstained from voting for a ceasefire that has seen the killing of 20,000 innocent people.
In the latest one, the UK government voted with, and the US abstained along with Russia.
It's disgraceful what Western governments have done in the last few weeks. Disgraceful. And in my opinion, it will taint all of us.
Do you think that the Biden administration is behind the scenes putting more pressure? We know that Egypt is trying to come up with a new peace plan now with a 3-stage process, which will involve the release of hostages over a phased process. Hamas has said that there will not be any further hostage releases without a permanent ceasefire. Do you think that the US government is actually running out of patience with the Israelis?
Well, they are not running out of patience, except giving Israel everything it needs. I mean, Israel would not have done this without the full support of the US, without all the bombs. You know how many bombs Israel drops on Gaza? You know, it's already more than 3 the size of the Hiroshima nuclear bomb. You know, the 2,000 tons bomb that they drops on these homes that are full of children and women. This is a US provided. And you've seen the images of the UK going with this Royal Air Force providing weapons. This is the first time in history whereby a genocide is being executed live on your TV set with the full support of some Western governments. This is the fact. And that's why the Palestinian people, and among us are Christian people, the Palestinian Christians are the original Christians. And you know, sometimes, Ali, allow me. The other day I was watching a BBC anchor asking a question for a British man of faith. And she said, why Israel is not discriminating between Palestinians and Christians? That was her question. She does not know
Palestinians are
are
Christians.
Christians. She
Yeah.
does not know that we are the original Christians. She does not know that Jesus was born in Bethlehem. She does not know that we are the producer of this message.
Ambassador, wouldn't
And
the
that's-
Israelis say, sorry to interrupt, but wouldn't the Israelis say, you say that they're bombing, and of course, absolutely horrendous and tragic loss of life going on here. Would you not, if the Israelis would come back and say that there is a massive network of tunnels which are being used by Hamas, who go and put these tunnels under areas of large civilian populations, including hospitals. This is the charges that have been made, and they simply cannot afford another attack like October the 7th to happen.
Well, the Israelis and with them their backers, the US and the UK and everywhere, I mean governments, because we have the people. I'm sure you have seen the hundreds of thousands, the millions everywhere. We do have the people. But governments have to think and think seriously and think about not the day after, but the day before the 7th of October. Seriously reconsider the whole status quo, because the one conclusion is that occupation can never be permanent, colonization can never be permanent, siege and blockade of people for 16 years can never be permanent. Do not focus on the symptoms. Focus on the root cause.
Okay, but you're saying focus
If you
on
are
the
a
root
physician,
cause.
if you are a
Okay.
physician,
Yes.
would you just focus on the temperature, on the fever, or would you want to know what is causing the body to be shaking and shivering?
You're saying focus on the root cause. We also need to try and focus on a way forward. I'm not sure that either side in this conflict have thought about exactly how this ends and how a peace is achieved and how a sustainable settlement is achieved. The Israelis are now talking about the end of the two-state solution. They're not even going down that road. Zipi Yatovni, your Israeli colleague here was very open about the fact they have no interest in a two-state solution. The Palestinian Authority, which you represent, would they be prepared to step into a post-conflict situation to try and take over and come to a sustainable peace with Israel?
Listen, the Israelis first never really meant a two-state solution. So Hatovoli did not make any revelation. She was just honest because she represented the true policy of her government. And her government
But they
was...
did in the past. Camp David.
Ali, the problem is you here in the West don't follow. You don't read, you don't listen to them, and when you do, you disregard what they're saying. They've been saying this for a long time. Even Rabin, who signed the Oslo Accords, went to the Knesset and said, I will never give sovereignty to Palestine eastward, i.e. between Jordan and Palestine. We had issues with successive Israeli governments, but the one main indicator of the intent was the building of settlements. We started the Oslo process 30 years ago with less than 120,000 illegal colonial settlers. Now we have 750,000. The whole West Bank is dotted with illegal settlements, and many commentators are saying this is an erosion of any possibility of a two-state solution. So the successive Israeli governments have been undermining the two-state solution, not only by words, but by deeds. And don't think that they're building these settlements just for a vacation.
Will the PA step in? Will the Palestinian Authority step up?
And by the way, this coalition last year was formed on a contract, by a contract, and in the contract it says the first provision of that of the Israeli government that this government will make sure that the right of self-determination is exclusive to the Jewish people from the river to the sea. And Ali, when you have all this, and then I have a government official, very senior, here comes and tells me, oh, the Israeli ambassador just said that they are not with the two-state solution. I mean, the writing is all over the world. So what do we do here? We need to make sure that we are very meticulous in how do we deal with this. Gaza cannot be resolved on its own. Gaza is an integral part of our territory. It has to be one state, the state of Palestine, in Gaza, the West Bank, and Jerusalem, as per international consensus.
So what is your message, just finally, because we're up against time, what is your message finally to the British public and the Israeli public on this Christmas Day?
My message is that the road to peace is rights, is acknowledgement. We must be treated as equal to all other nations. That's my message. And you know, the Palestinian people are such a special nation that once we are treated and our rights are fulfilled as equal, I think we will be a beacon in the region as once we were, and we shall continue, a bridge between East and West and the light upon nations.
Thank you very much indeed, Ambassador. That was the Palestinian ambassador to the UK, Dr. Hussam Zomlot, joining me to give me his perspective on what is going on in the Middle East at the moment. You're listening to Ali Mirage on LBC. It's 3:48.
This is